Alright everyone, as David Knight, Noah Schroyer, and others associated with Infowars continue to be abused, and Infowars, of course, platformed by even more smaller sites that typically don't matter as much, it's time to talk about the effects, the long-term, I think, larger-scale effects of their martyrdom, which is really what it is. Infowars has essentially been martyred. Because up until maybe this year, or last year certainly, it never entered into most people's minds that there was any real systemic problem with fake news, hatred and stuff online. A lot of it boiled down to the big problem they perceived was cyberbullying, which I would say is kind of a problem. The thing is, the cyberbullies are the legacy media and the NGOs that are constantly trying to deplatform people. They're coming for people's money at this point. Literally, we've gotten to the point where private organizations, often with ties to the government itself, are conducting operations designed to prevent people from even engaging in nominal commerce. Like, they shouldn't even be able to buy and sell shit online. They shouldn't be able to post anything. And then the apologists, like the jackboot lickers, are different from the jackboot wearers. The jackboot wearers are abusive, authoritarian, most of them are corrupt, and they're doing this primarily for money reasons or for attention reasons. The jackboot lickers, which are far more numerous, keep making the excuse, well, it's a private market, if you don't like it, make your own website. And it's like, yes, Infowars is a private website. Their payment processors get flighty, Discourse leaves them behind, a bunch of other groups deplatform everything that they're cross-posting. That's not an even playing field. It's not a free market of ideas. What I would say is this. The one good thing that's come of this is that because Infowars had a massive audience, because it has no problem throwing itself down political gauntlets of various kinds, and because of the systemic nature to which they were mass deplatformed, essentially depersoned off large swaths of the internet, has had two unintended consequences. Number one, it has vastly increased the growth rate of alt tech. If you look, Gab, Minds, BitChute, all of these sites have begun to skyrocket with growth very, very quickly. We're talking sites that were relatively small even a year ago in some cases are now double, triple their size in the course of a few months. Part of this is due to innovation. BitChute is innovating, Minds, Gab, they're innovative sites, there are others as well. The other part, though, is people are getting nervous. It's exactly what happened after Adpocalypse with VidMe. VidMe existed for years before that. Nobody knew what VidMe was. I had never heard of it. All of a sudden I did, and I'm like, well, might be worth my while checking this out. What happened there is that they failed to capitalize upon the fact that people were already getting pissed off at big tech for monetary reasons related to ad revenue, because they didn't want to become a political style site. They're like, no, we're not even gonna show the politics category in trending. And no, we're not going to, welcome people with edgy opinions. That was their problem. They collapsed as a result of this. They pissed off too many of the people that would have become, I think, ardent, loyal users of VidMe. So it collapses. These sites aren't making that mistake. The only thing I would point out to them is it's a bad idea fundamentally, like when Gab does this, it would be a bad idea to look conservative in a public space as a company. It's better to just say, hey, we support freedom, fuck off, essentially. Your site will grow more quickly as the result of that. Now, looking like you side with a dichotomous, false dichotomous political ideology tends to alienate a large swath of the population from using your platform. You should be trying to get them onto your platform. That's just a bit of advice, I would say. From a branding, from a marketing perspective, you don't want to alienate people with all sorts of labels and end up cutting yourself down in the process. That's number one. The growth of alt tech has swiftly picked up. Number two, people who never really thought about online censorship as a potential problem. Before, they were only told online hate or online extremism or fake news online were problems. Now, though, there's the counterpart to that, which is the prevention of those so-called problems, supposedly, is itself censorship and is itself problematic. I think that censorship strikes a negative chord with most people, as long as it is presented as censorship. The big hurdle right now, here's my advice going forward for the alt media, any major commentators and your fans, everyone watching this, for alt tech, you need to try to unskew the language that's currently being used by these propagandists. For instance, we call it the satanic panic, but at the time it wasn't called a satanic panic, now was it? It was called secretive underground devil-worshipping cults that were trying to abduct your kids. Never existed, but it titillated people, and there was no counterpoint to be made at the time. Only later does the term satanic panic even enter into the lexicon. It wasn't identified as a moral panic. So the first step is we've identified there is a moral panic. I think sane individuals realize that's what's happening. It's basically interchangeable with witch hunt. Burning times, witch hunt, moral panic, fucking temperance era moralist pearl clutchers. Okay, use whatever weird terms you want as a joke. Ultimately, though, it's just a social panic, just a moral panic. That is that the original problem for which the so-called solution has been proposed, which is censorship. The censorship is given family-friendly terms, and the so-called problem is exacerbated. That is, it's antagonized and also it's amplified unduly. A molehill is projected by, into a mountain, essentially. Oh my God, over there's a huge mountain. Oh, it's just an anthill. Well, no, it's big, trust me. And then, of course, you censor the person if they disagree. That's the whole thing. You have to censor people as part of a moral panic, because the moral panic never makes true sense. It will always be called out as false, and so you always have to try to deplatform those people that are doing so. That's inevitably what happens. Now that we know that that's what it is, demystify the language. Make sure people know. Quality filter, it's just censorship. Quality filter, it doesn't increase the quality of the conversation. It's just a tool to censor political discourse, and sometimes other discourse as well. It's also applied to both the left and the right. It's going to cause everyone to be fucked. Family-friendly. The term family-friendly as used by these for-profit multi-billion-dollar firms doesn't mean family-friendly. It means censored and sanitized. Look, the big tech firms right now are huddling together to plan for the midterms. What are we going to do about political discourse in the next couple of months? What do you think they're going to support versus go against? What do you think they'll algorithmically manipulate off of trending or off of front pages or off of live feeds? What do you think they're going to go after? Anything that's bad for their bottom line, for their money. Part of that, of course, is that they tie in with a bunch of globalist banks that support neoliberalism. Because these people are their creditors. These people have their business ties with them. Some people think, here's the other funny part. A lot of people, when they make the free market argument, they should be able to do whatever they want, they don't realize how deep the ties between businesses and political entities really are, including worldwide media conglomerates that often are multinational in nature anyway. So it's a case where, like, the politician wants his opponent, him to lose, obviously. He wants the position for himself, so he's like, hey, tech firm that, I'm kind of partnered with, I would love it if you would manipulate the search results for the opponent to put this phony scandal at the top. And this happens all the time. Why do you think that their algorithmic manipulation in all the big tech firms is opaque anyway? Why do you think that they're not going to tell you exactly how they categorize things, how they choose what's at the top of a live arena of chat or whatever? Why do you think they won't tell you that? It's because it's manipulated for political and fiscal reasons. Because they know they'd get in trouble if anyone knew exactly how they conducted this. They don't want to tell Congress. They don't want to tell you, certainly. They're afraid that you'd stop using their websites, essentially. Here's the thing, though. This is an easily reformed situation, and Infowars has really... It has been the spark that has lit the wick on its way to the powder keg, is the banning of Infowars, largely off the internet at large. Even some people who are they're desperately far to left, who wants a recession in order to beat Trump, doesn't think that they should be deplatformed in that manner. It's re-amplified the debate that was already technically there over whether censorship is appropriate at all, and especially, even more than censorship itself, whether it needs to be administered in a moralist situation by a bunch of billion-dollar entities. Is that appropriate in a nation that is fundamentally founded on the principle of free speech? Not just the First Amendment and a legal arrangement, the principle of free speech. The principle that you go into the public square and have the free exchange of ideas, and if you don't like an idea, don't patronize it. You can argue against it or you can ignore it. That's the whole point. The point of the New England-style town hall debate is very much ingrained into the early founding of this country. And yet we've gotten to the point where literally a half a dozen different companies can essentially silence a person in all forms of major human communication, even destroy their job and livelihood and prevent them from engaging in commerce. And not even just, hey, We're deplatforming you from speaking because you're a bigot or something. But also, we're going to prevent you from even making money. Essentially, you won't even be able to support yourself. You're going to be homeless. I would think that constitutes a primitive fiscal form of terrorism, almost, in a way. You're trying to scare people into silence through the threat of mass deplatforming, including up to the fiscal level. I think that that's a way of attempting to make people too fearful to fight back against you. Now, some of us don't give a fuck. We're going to keep speaking regardless of what happens. Other people, though, they'll self-censor. Yeah, they'll tone it down a little bit because they're afraid. I would say if nobody was afraid, of course, the censorship sort of becomes ineffective at some point. Because then you just have massive outrage anytime anyone's abused. With Infowars, you saw, for the first time, at least a few early wake-up stage minds weighing in from groups that aren't maybe on the right or libertarian informed, saying, this is beginning to make me feel uncomfortable. Just the very dawn of awareness, I think, in some of their minds, that this is not a direction we need to be going in as a world. With modern human communication being as it is, it should remain the way it was, which is no, Silicon Valley should not be censoring people's political views. Government shouldn't be doing that. There is no underlying significant problem with bigotry or fake news or Russian propaganda online. Those are excuses being used by groups that are greedy and want more money or want to crack down on certain political ideologies because they scare them. That's fundamentally, I think, what it's about. In Infowars, them being martyred, which they have, whether you like them or not as a company, really has kicked it off. That's about all. Peace out.